Hello, everyone, and good morning. I hope that you're doing well. Now, as we're getting into the holiday season, and also most people are aware that the solstice for the winter just actually began. So it's very interesting. We would think we're already in winter, but actually it was kind of late fall. So during this time, sometimes we might have a imbalance happen. Okay, so in the preceding month, we do what we're supposed to do in order to prepare for the next month. But imbalance happens because, as Master Tiantai states about the contemplation of the objects of disease, the elements within the body, he compares them to the idea of four snakes. And basically, these four snakes have the different natures. So they're constantly in conflict with each other, unbalancing each other. That's the basic concept of Eastern medicine, is how to restore that balance. And it's a natural occurrence. It's interesting because it says in uh, the contemplation on disease, these elements are like four neighboring countries always invading and attacking each other. If there's a balance of power, there may be some peace for a while, but as soon as there's a sign of weakness or an empty ride, they will try to swallow up the other. So, illness is a part of life, especially changing of seasons, the imbalance causes. But you should know about the idea of the four elements. When they're talking about the elements of earth, water, fire, and wind, they also use the idea of five elements in different aspects, but in this part they're using the four. And these constantly imbalance each other by actually invading. So that means also invading the body. So usually during the winter we wear a muffler to protect the back of the neck. That's one of the spaces where illness can invade. But also there is illness inside of ourselves, which is karma. So it's interesting that among the Buddhas, there is a saying that when they're greeted each other, may you have little disease and little suffering, which shows that the Buddhas are the same in suffering and such illness as other people. People will suffer disease even if temporarily it seems that you are without disease. It just means that it is only less than others and not apparent. There is also a disease that they talk about that if you don't have the illness, that's another kind of illness. So actually, illness is the elements trying to rebalance themselves. It's very fascinating. And he goes on to state that there are two meanings of disease. The first is a real disease, which comes from causes, and the second is a tentative disease, which is the result of certain conditions calling for compassion. As for the tentative disease, there's a famous example of Vimalakitri. He was a layperson, and there's a whole sutra, which I encourage you to read, that is dedicated to Vimalakitri. And he had who, while in repose at Vasali, took the opportunity of his illness to teach the Buddha Dharma. Through the appearance of his physical illness, he was able to clarify the teachings for ordinary, mundane people, rejecting the Hinayana and rebuking the inadequate Mahayana interpretations. And along with Manjusri, broadly clarified the causes of illness and the three types of regulating and overcoming them. And also broadly clarified the results of illness and the types of healing. Again, when the Tathagata approached his physical extinction by death, he expounded on the permanent in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra and of 10 powers with regard to disease. These all refer to tentative and skillful entering into disease for the sake of teaching the Dharma, guiding people in disease and suffering. So in this also means that one can either witness it or experience it themselves. So with that, we need to use that to contemplate on the physical body. That is the result of retributive karmic action. So it's a kind of karmic meditation, karmic yoga, as they would say, that through the causes and conditions, we have such a situation that we can be able to meditate. And then ultimately, Master Tentai goes through all of the different sections on contemplation. And basically what it means is to acknowledge that one has imbalance, right? That's the mark of disease. And if you aren't aware before, and that's why they use the interpretation of the great physician in the sutra, Lotus Sutra specifically, that we become great physicians for ourselves and for others, because the avoidance of such things is unrealistic. And then to have a tentative understanding and then also use that for one's own liberation as well as others is really important. So that's why I had a great conversation in my Master of Divinity studies that they talk about the idea of euthanasia, ending one's suffering. And the sutras talked about actually not allowing that actually to certain levels of suffering, especially in some levels of illness, that one uses it for contemplation as an opportunity, because without escaping the bonds of birth and death, we just reintegrate back into suffering. So we can use that suffering, which as the example as they show with the Vimalakitri and the Buddha in Mahaprajnaparamita Sutra, the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, his passing away sutra, reveals that to us. So let us in this way that we can use cessation and contemplation practice, shikan, with the daimoku to heal ourselves, to heal others. And that's, from what I have come to understand, is the basis of Buddhism. That our practice is a healing method, that we're re-establishing ourselves into reality and dealing with what we have, and that not fearing it and not trying to reject it or begrudge it, but knowing that these are natural parts of life and then knowing how to deal with it. And then therefore, as you can imagine, the quality of life changes. That if one doesn't see, of course, one through proper maintenance and practice, we can regulate disease and have very energetic and, how do you say, minimally diseased lives. But disease is also a part of life, and that we can use that contemplation, that situation, in order to inspire others and to inspire and deepen ourselves to awakening, to the stopping and seeing. So there is a whole section in which Master Chantai says that this practice is for the cultivation of becoming a great physician of one's own life, and that through contemplation and cessation in our own life, we can be able to understand and support others. And that's obviously what I've come to understand is the goal of a practitioner, whether it's a layperson or a priest. No differentiation, that if we practice properly, like Vimalakitri, who is a layperson, the Buddha sent his disciples to him to teach him about this aspect, okay? So with that, let us go ahead and begin our meditation. Let's do a little stretching. I'm going to turn, because one of the parts of that during the season, we become a little stiff, because we're doing a little more sleeping, right? Our bodies are naturally in kind of this hibernative mode, which is very interesting. Okay, let's go in a circle left. Right. Very good. Okay, I'm going to just take a moment here, because obviously I'm dealing with the idea of a little bit of imbalance. Pardon me. One of the great aspects is that the attitude is different. Before I would get angry if I was sick. I'd begrudge myself actually and say, "Why would you get sick? You haven't done this." Instead of looking at it as an imbalance that due to seasons, etc., we need to really be mindful and aware to cultivate that. Okay. Great. So let us begin with our breathing. So we'll breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth. And exhale. Breathe in, hold, and exhale. Breathe in, hold, and exhale. Now let us take our posture, Hokkai Join, sitting up straight, our ears over our shoulders, tucking in our chin, closing our mouth gently, putting our tongue at the roof of our mouth, closing our eyes just enough to keep the light out, and now breathing through our nose. As we exhale, we use Namyo Horenge Kyo, and as we inhale, we simply observe. With the sound of the bell, let us absorb into meditation. As we hear the bell, let us remove or release our concentration, coming back to awareness of the body. Let us contemplate on the marks or movements of our mind, our breathing, our body. We can see how our breathing has regulated, or perhaps become a little more regulated, our mind more concentrated, our body more relaxed. As we bring our attention more back to the body, let us move our fingers, our toes, rubbing our hands together over our eyes. There we are. Apologize, the camera stopped during our meditation. As it says, again, there are people who leisurely loiter and are lazy when they are healthy. But when they suddenly become sick, they have a change of heart and are able to accomplish many things. This is one of the ideas that we can use illness to become aware of our situation. Also, we can see long disease and traveling afar are both great hindrances to dhyana meditation. If your body is stained with illness and you have lost the benefits of cultivating the path, you must arouse immeasurable offenses. You may arouse immeasurable offenses. That means with your actions, your behavior, your thoughts. Sutra tells of breaking the floating bag of the precepts that keeps you afloat and removing the beams of a bridge of patience so that your true concentration is forgotten and lost. So what it's saying is that sometimes when people are ill, they have some self-pity, or that they remove their attach to their, how do you say, vow to uphold the precepts. So therefore they let them fall by the side. Um, or the idea of being patient, both with oneself and others, and the healing process as well. Um, this is, of course, as they said, like the beams of a bridge or like a floating bag. Breaking the precepts because of disease is like bursting the floating bag, and breaking the dhyana meditation through the loss of patience is like removing the beams of a bridge. Arousing a deviant and perverted mind and holding dear a pus-filled body, a bloody body, and destroying the pure dharma body is the result of losing your true concentration. For this reason, you should contemplate the objects of disease. The objects begin with the marks of the physical body. That means one's physical experience, being aware of it. Um, we can tell by our breathing. what actually in Chinese medicine or Eastern medicine, they look at the person's face and are able to tell by their breathing, their posture, etc., color of face, tongue, what's going on, what the imbalance is. That what we must become are the great physicians of our lives, and demonstrate that this is possible. And so therefore we mustn't lax ourselves for our practice and study. So I hope all of you have a wonderful holiday. Um, and I will see you all soon. Please continue your practice and let us meet next time. Thank you very much.